Zero editing. We're just gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the 25 Biblical Laws of Success. I am David Menny, getting ready to get into this next chapter, guys, and I'm excited about it. It's one of my favorite subjects. This chapter is chapter 20, and it is the law of leadership, guys. One of the most important um, aspects of being an adult is learning about leadership. And we have to master this. I got some questions for you guys. If you guys have ever had a job that you just were not happy with, or found yourself as a part of a group or an organization where you just felt that either you as a leader, you have frustration with your group, or as you being part of the group, we're having frustration with your leadership. This chapter is for you guys. If you ever found yourself at a job where you hated your boss and you just got tired of the way things are run, this is a chapter for you. And if you are a person who aspires to grow in the ranks of leadership at your job or whatever organization you're a part of, this is for you again. So, had a great day today, and I'm set for my studying. My schedule is going to change up in the next few days. And just to share a little bit about what's going on, I'm still pursuing my securities license, and I'm going to get it down this time. The date is set for next month, and so I'm going to get into study mode like you wouldn't believe, and I'm excited for it. So, our quote today is by Brian Tracy: "Become the kind of leader," back here behind me, but become the kind of leader that people would follow voluntarily, even if you had no title or position. That's right, guys. Leadership goes beyond your position. A lot of people kind of uh, bundle that up together, but just because you have a title doesn't mean you're necessarily a leader. There's something called the Law of E.F. Hutton, right, by John Maxwell, who I would probably say is the master at teaching leadership skills. He's up there with Miles Monroe, two of my top favorites, and other. There's a lot of great others, but uh, those two are probably my favorites when it comes to teaching leadership. And this book right here, I mean, it's my first time reading through this chapter of leadership, and again, just like previous chapters, they drop bombs, and I'm excited to go through it with you guys today. So let's get to the reading. Chapter 20. Oh, by the way, this is the last chapter of this part of the book. We are finishing up part 4, the law of relationships. Right, we studied some awesome subjects here: the law of advice, the law of usefulness, the law of love, and we started off with the company that you keep, guys. So a lot of great stuff here, a lot of great stuff. And finishing up this chapter, I would say, as we finish up this part of the book, it really does touch the heart as it pertains, as we all live this life, and really the quality of your life. It's not the money that you make. It's not the your achievements. The quality of your life, I feel, um, really boils down to relationships, and the relationships that you have with everybody. The different types of relationships you have. We have professional relationships. We have family ties, and the quality of those kinds of relationships, all the folk of all types, they will define the quality of your life. I mean, that's just my take on it. But even though I am, aka Big Money, for the Big Money page, and we are rebuilding this brand. But still, money isn't everything. I teach people all the time. A lot of people get confused and say, "Oh, it's just about making the money." No, it's about the person you become. That's what I've learned in business. It's not about the first $1,000,000 that you make, but the person that you become in the process. That is what really matters. That's the real benefit. It's not the money. It's not the income. Because you can have $1,000,000 and just be a sad sap and not have any kind of friends and not have, any kind of following, or any kind of impact or influence over others, which John Maxwell talks about, that a real leader is not a title or position, but rather the influence that they hold over others, which is spot on. So take it from one of the masters of teaching leadership. But going into this chapter covers a lot about the relationship between employee and employer, supervisors, managers, and how we should respond to leadership as as an adult, as a professional, as a business owner, as an employee, as a Christian. And Christians pretty much got it pretty hard because we got to be the bigger person all the time, and so sometimes it can be frustrating to play the role of a Christian. Also, it'll help you with some decisions you got to make, right? So there's some tough situations out there. I find myself in a tough situation regarding leadership, and I hope that this information that we're going to cover today will help you guys. So, sorry, I was just like congested or something today, but it's all good. I'm going to make this happen. Chapter 20, the law of leadership. Starting off with 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17. Those who direct the affairs of the church well are worthy of double honor, right? So starting off with the leadership in the ministry, which this goes beyond ministry, guys. This is going to be, across whatever business or industry that you are in. All right, so starting off, no one advances in life without some degree of leadership. You may not want to lead others, but you will not be successful if you do not learn to be at least your own leader. All right, so starting off with accountability over oneself, and if you learn to be your own leader, leading others will come naturally. Make the decision to apply the law of leadership to your life. All right, so right away, dropping bombs, saying that you cannot advance in life without some sort of degree of leadership. And it says, even if you're not the leader of others, but you have to first learn to be a leader to yourself. You got to lead your own life. It wouldn't make sense for me. I use the example all the time because I'm a big guy, and I think it's funny. But as a big guy, I'm 500 pounds. I could not, in good conscience, teach someone else how to be fit and how to lose weight and how to eat right. I couldn't do it, man. That's just because I don't live that lifestyle. And if I were to just say those kind of things, that'd make me a hypocrite. That'd make me I don't know what kind of a leader you got with poor leadership skills, because I'm talking it, not walking it. But it says here, when you first lead yourself, then leading others will come naturally. It says, be your own boss. Be the boss of your own actions and lead yourself down the path to success. Do this, and other people will be inspired by you and will eventually follow you. So what constitutes a leader? Well, one of the big indications is your following, right? To see how many people will follow you, because a leader is really a person of influence. It's not a person of a title or position, but a people of influence. And if you have influence, that means you do something or you've done things that inspire others to follow you. And so followers are just in evidence of your leadership, because people will become inspired to eventually follow you. Carlos Wizard Martins, founder of Wizard Language Teaching Method. I don't know what that is, but I want to look into it. It says, and he's also the owner of the world's 3 largest companies in that field, which is wizard language teaching, offers several leadership tips in the book. Here's another book, Desparte o Millonero que ha en voce, roughly translated as Awake the Millionaire Within You, of which we have selected 3 tips on leadership. It says here, 3 tips of leadership. Number 1, create solutions, not problems. Very good. Focus on people, not structures. Awesome. And love what you do. So create solutions, not problems. Focus on people. And first of all, create solutions, not problems. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I create a problem because I want to see a solution, but we got to create the solution, right? Not problems. And so think about what we do and the actions we take regarding leadership or responding to leadership. Number 2, focus on people, not the structures. We got to focus on people because people do matter. People make up your company. People make up your organization. People make up whatever, your brand, right? And love what you do. Right? So be passionate. Martins also advises you to try not to change others. Instead, change yourself. This right here is one of the biggest headaches that leaders find. And what we have to understand as a leader is that we cannot change people, right? You can teach them. You can show them a few things here and there. You can show them some tricks. You can give them everything they ask for. Being a leader in business, one of the things I've learned is that you can do all you can for someone, but if they don't change, you're not going to do it for them. Does that make sense? The old saying of you can take a horse to the river, but you can't make it drink. It's the same thing. And so you can try to persuade someone as much as you can. I'm not saying you don't try to persuade someone. You must also, you must definitely try. If you are in a leadership position, try to help people see the correct way of doing it. But they're not going to change them for you. So it says, instead of changing others, change yourself. This is the roadmap, not only to success, but also to becoming a leader. After all, Gandhi taught us, those who cannot govern themselves will not be capable of governing others. Leadership is achieved based on trust you create. That's huge. So the basis of leadership is trust. And it says that you got to create that, right? So all right. Sorry about that, guys. So you have to develop trust. If you want people to follow you, there has to be a trust amongst you and the people. Let me tell you something. If you consider yourself a leader and you violate trust, which is one of my struggles, I'm kind of seen as a rebellious person. And that is because trust has been violated. And trust cannot be awarded to someone. They have to earn it. We must earn it. We cannot just assume that because we have a position that we are going to receive people's trust. You have to earn that as a leader. So once someone comes into a position of leadership, they have to, and there's no instructions on how they're going to do it, but you've got to win over your people. You've got to win over your people. Your people need to know that you care about them, not just about profits and margins and things like that, but you got to know, they have to know and feel it, that you truly trust, that you truly believe in them, and that they can trust in you to provide the best leadership possible to that, so that they can receive success as well. So this is huge, guys. Leadership is based on the trust that you create, and it says you've got to do it, right? Don't depend on if you become a manager. Don't look for some kind of manual that maybe the company does do it for you. I don't know, that's kind of weak to me, but you've got to develop a system to create trust between you and your people. Don't wait for anybody else to create it for you. Don't wait for anybody to vouch for you. Don't wait for the company to hand you some kind of handbook and say, this is how you get your people to trust you. It doesn't work like that. People can sniff out some weak uh, relationships, and whether you're trustworthy or not, people will figure it out, guys. Right? So even kids are like, kids have a special what do you call that? Awareness. They have a sense. They have like a different sense. They can tell if you're trustworthy or not. I'm telling you, trust is built on three pillars: character, which we've learned in this book; competence, which we learned in this book; and communication. Um, Character. So, character. If tying in Miles Monroe, a character is a person who has set values. He knows what he stands for. He knows what he believes in. He has values. Whether maybe he values being on time. Maybe he values, competency. Maybe he values integrity. But those values never bend. That means when they stick to those values, they defend those values, and they uphold those values in everything that they do in their daily tasks and amongst their team and amongst their the group of which they are leaders to. They have true character, right? The second pillar is competence, a person who knows what they're doing. If your leader is incompetent, meaning he doesn't know or she doesn't know what they're doing in leading this group, the group will sniff it out very fast. And communication, guys. Communication, I think, has taken a major blow because a lot of us communicate through text and messages and DMs and private messages and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of that is lazy. It's lazy communication. It's kind of like, like if I'm standing in front of you and I'm having a conversation with you, I expect two-way conversation. And when you hold up your end of the bargain there, communication is very easy, right? And if you were to speak to me, and I just don't respond to you, communication is broken and ineffective. Same thing with text message. I send you a text, and you take forever to send it back to me. It's like it's broken communication. It's not very effective. So communication is definitely one of the pillars to leadership. And just learning the tonality, guys. If I could just put in a couple nuggets, tonality goes a long way, right? And I'll prove it with a simple example. Saying something to your husband and your wife, the way you say it, the tonality that you carry when you deliver those words. uh you can't tell me, if you're married, you can't tell me that tonality does not matter. You can instantly upset your husband by saying something to him with a certain tone. You can instantly, piss off your wife by saying something and saying it with a weird kind of tone. Tonality means a lot, guys. Master that, right? So, just my own 2 cents here. These three pillars are essential to becoming a good leader. And following the golden rule will make you a natural leader, right? Treat others as you like to be treated, and you become a natural leader. People follow those who treat them with care and respect. It's that simple, guys. You care about somebody, you respect somebody, treat them well, and you become a natural leader. Right? People follow you. Um, Here's a new person to look up. Sun. First name is Sun, like the sun. Last name Tzu, Tzu. One of the greatest strategists of all time taught this. Quote, protect your soldiers as you would protect a newborn, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Wow, that's huge. Care for your situation as you would for your dearest children, and they will readily meet death under your command. That is so massive, right? So a great leader, it says here, protect your soldiers as you would a newborn, and they'll follow you into the deepest valleys. It really does matter how you take care of a child. And the child, like I said earlier, this is perfect because it just ties into what I said earlier about kids can sniff out if you're trustworthy or not. And he says here that if you treat everybody, if you protect your soldiers like you would protect a newborn, they'll follow you to the deepest valleys. That's so huge because it's true. Um, you know, it doesn't matter what you believe in. If you raise a child and you take care of that child and you actually genuinely care for them, it doesn't matter your position. They might grow up and become an adult with their own perspectives, and you might not agree on things, but because you raised them a certain way, they'll follow you into the valleys of death. They are loyal to you. And it says here, continue on with that quote. It says, care for your soldiers as you would for your dearest children, and they will readily meet death under your command. They will be willing to die for you. They will be willing to go into uh, an uphill battle for you. They will be willing to go into a battle where the odds are just against us. They are loyal soldiers for you, right? If you treat them like your dearest children. And it reminds me of one of my favorite movies, King Arthur. And it was a different take on the King Arthur and his knights. This is a movie that came out, I believe it was 2003, and a phenomenal movie. Great movie, great movie. There was a bunch of B actors in there, except for the main character. But the other guys, you'll see them in action movies throughout Europe and stuff like that. It was him and what's left of his 12 knights, and they actually had the round table in there and everything. Uh, but it pretty much they were contracted soldiers, and they lived up to their end of the bargain. And they had one last mission, and then they could retire, right? Stay home and raise their children. And what happened was they were done with the last mission, came home, celebrated. King Arthur took in one last mission, and it was damn near impossible, right? Damn near impossible. And he says, I have to deliver this guy to Rome or whatever it was, right? And everybody was like, you don't have to. And he said, yeah, but I have to. I must, and he said, I can't ask you to go with me. And he told his soldiers, I'm going. And, everybody else, all of his soldiers, they were just celebrating their last mission. They were done. And they all went with him. They all went with him. I think they all died, but they all went with him. And it was like they had a party and everything. And they were like, "Are you coming?" He goes, "Of course I'm coming. Of course I'm coming with you. Even though, we're all gonna die, but I'm coming with you." That leadership, that bond that they had, is because they've been through it all, and they recognize King Arthur as their leader, to where they will readily meet death under his command. And most anybody in the world will be like, are you kidding me? You just got done with the war. You finished your last mission. You held up your end of the bargain. You've got your freedom, your paperwork, and now you can live your life, raise your children. Why would you go back into battle when you don't have to? They follow their leader, and he was such a powerful leader that he took them. They followed him into battle. So great movie. I'm gonna watch it again now. It says the manner in which you treat others will inspire your team and your customers. Several attitudes can help you improve the quality of your professional and leadership skills. We can learn much from applying the truths that we read from Paul's letter to the Romans. Now, let me pause here real quick. We're reading Romans chapter 12, verse 7 to 21, and how powerful this is regarding leadership. Um, these Bible verses are very commonly used, and I reading it here for some reason was just a little bit different for me, different than hearing it in a sermon, different than hearing it in the Bible, study and stuff like that. But what we're going to read right now, based on what we just talked about and how powerful leadership is, where people will even follow you into death because you're such a great leader and you have such great influence over everybody. The first part of this chapter that we've been talking about when it comes to leadership, the goal is have influence, have the trust of the people. If you want to be a great leader, gain their trust. If you want to be a great leader, influence them. You know, a real leader has great influence to where when they say something, people listen. When they speak, people are attentively listening and saying, what is the leader saying? Hold on there. They'll stop everything. Everybody be quiet. The leader's saying something, right? That's a real leader right there, right? And so this is how Paul applies these truths, right? Now let's read. It says, if your gift is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, then do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, then do it cheerfully. It says here, continuing on, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourself, never lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual favor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Ooh, I'm going to read that again. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans chapter 12, verse 7 to 21. What a powerful passage, guys. This right here is I would say this is the daily duties of a true Christian, right? So to be saved, you need the blood of Jesus Christ, right? You got to, being saved does not mean you know every law, every word of the Bible. Being saved that's not what that means. Being saved is, you can only be saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, point blank. But this right here, and yes, there are the commandments, right? And the greatest of all is to love others as you, as you, as you love yourself, right? But it's this right here, what Paul covers, I believe, is the duty of every Christian out there. This is the way to live. This is the way to respond to your circumstances. This is the way for you to act, right? As a person who loves God and believes in Jesus Christ and that He is the Messiah. And I would say that I'm definitely guilty of not honoring this passage in a few ways. Sometimes I do take revenge on people that hurt me. Sometimes I want to fight back. I want to repay evil for evil. And then, I'm just being transparent here and just being real. There's times where I do want to curse people, for things that they say about me. And I'm not the most loved person because I stick to my guns, because I choose a path that's a little different than everybody else, which is fine, and that's all good. But it's saying here to you, first of all, it covers using your gift, whatever your gift is. If it's to teach, if it's to serve, then to do it diligently and do it cheerfully, right? And it says to be sincere, hate what is evil, cling to the good, be devoted to another in love, right? So it's saying to love each other and to hate what is evil, right? You gotta hate everything that is evil. So I'm debating with some people on things that are evil, and they're considering it not so evil, or they're allowing it because the law allows it, which we've covered earlier in this book. But sharing, it says, be hospitable, give to those who are in need, which my wife is my blessing when it comes to that area, because I like to give to the homeless, but like handing things out is kind of like I gotta eliminate this nature that I have where I kind of hold back. You know what I mean? But I'm not. I wish I can give with a cleaner heart, with a better heart. And I'm mastering that. But my wife, she's the opposite. She'll give it all away. And worry about things later. It's like my dad. My dad was a very giving person. He gave my bike away. He gave another bike away. He gave my Nintendo away, my Super Nintendo away. He gave our Sega Saturn away. He would always give our stuff away. He gave my mom's couches away. He gave a car away when I needed one. He gave it to someone else, and I'm like, Dad, come on. Yeah. It was my first car too when I used to drive in high school. It says, if you're hungry, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. And by doing this, you will heap burning coals under his head. So God will take revenge for you guys. You don't have to do it. I don't have to do it. I got to tell myself, I don't have to take revenge. God will. Right? There's some people that approached me out in the street, and I was not shining my light. But moving on, authority. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 13 says, do not be bosses over the people you lead. Live as you would like to have them live. Professionals, employees, and self-employed professionals must know how to deal with authority, in order to climb the ladder of success. All right, so this is where the jobs come in, guys. There will always be people above and below us, and knowing how to handle both situations correctly is a must. We recommend that bosses and supervisors behave in a professionally. We recommend that bosses and supervisors behave professionally and in such a manner as to make their authority natural and unquestioned. So bosses, supervisors, managers, leaders, teachers, trainers, coaches, you guys have to behave professionally so that your leadership will be received naturally. There's nothing like an unnatural leader. Nobody wants to follow that. It'll make their authority natural and unquestioned. It is important that their employees obey and respect their orders, both from the technical point of view and as a matter of trust. The words of the King Antoine in Saint Exupéry's classic The Little Princess comes to mind. It says here, quote, accepted authority rests first of all on reason. Accepted authority rests first of all on reason, unquote. That's huge, right? So it's saying that they have to do things professionally in order to have a natural leadership. And what they're saying here is that for people to receive your authority, for them to accept it and respect you and have that trust in you, your authority has to rest on reason. So you can't just be all blatant and just say random stuff as a leader and expect people to just follow you to and fro. You have to have reason in the things that you say, the commands that you give as a leader. Or as J. Oswald Sanders says, quote, true greatness, true leadership is found in giving yourself in service to others, not in coaxing or inducing others to serve you, unquote. That's huge. Service is where it's at. I think Napoleon Hill talks about it, and how we gain money is by rendering a service to people, fulfilling a need, right? So it's more about serving others, not about people serving you. Those in the position of employee or service provider must take other precautions. So those of us that are under leadership, right? Employees. It says, be pleasant and respectful, but not in the sense of flattery, and serve well. So being a pleasant person, be respectful to your leadership, but don't flatter them. Don't kiss butt. Um, and it says to serve well. Being a pleasant and dedicated professional is easy when things are going well, but the Bible knows the workings of the mind and emotions of all, and it instructs us to that even in difficult situations, we must see to it that loyalty and respect for others prevail, whether they are right or not. So, this is what we're going to cover right now. The Christian employee. It says it's when things are easy between you and your leadership, you and your supervisor, you and your management. It's so easy to communicate. It's so easy to serve and do your job. But when there's a friction amongst you guys, when you're not seeing eye to eye with your bosses, if you don't think that your bosses or your managers are respecting you, or maybe they're overlooking you, or they're being condescending to you, or they're not being respectful. It says it's going to be hard because the Bible knows the workings of the mind and the emotions, and it says that we have to see to it. I mean, you got to rise above it to make sure that you are loyal and respect others, right? To prevail, whether they're right or they're wrong. So even if your boss is wrong, be respectful, still serve the best you can. Now, we're not saying be a pushover. We're not saying that you got to just stick to it. We're not saying that if you have terrible management or you're working with a company that just does not respect its employees, we're not saying you have to stay there. We're not saying you just stick around and you're stuck with your job for the rest of your life because you're a Christian. You got to honor it and be loyal and continue serving even if you have a crappy situation of a job. Uh, you don't have to stay there. Let me make that clear. You don't have to stay there. We're not saying that, but us saying loyalty. We're not saying, in the Bible, we're going to share a couple of Bible verses here where it talks about slaves being subject to their masters. Again, I have to reiterate before we get into that, we're not saying that you have to kiss your bosses behind or stick to your job, even though it's a dead end job. It doesn't respect you. It doesn't offer you any opportunities. See your way out of there quick, right? And I can help you with that if you find yourself at a job that you hate. I can definitely offer you an opportunity to do something different and make more money, have more freedom. We can talk about that. But it says here, be loyal, respectful to them, even if they are right or not. Now it says First Peter chapter 2, verse 18, slaves in reverent fear of God, submit yourself to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. So, saying for slaves to submit to their masters, even the good ones and bad ones. Titus chapter 2, verse 9 to 10. Teach slaves to be subject to their masters in everything. Try to please them, not to talk back to them, and not to steal from them, but to show that they can be fully trusted. Now, one might take those two passages. That was Titus chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. One might take to those passages a certain kind of way because it's saying slaves and masters and things like that. We're not, that was the old application of this word, but in today's application of it, we're talking about employees who are contracted to fulfill hours at a job and to perform certain duties under the supervision or management of other individuals. So what we're talking about employees here, and it's saying be subject to your masters, but we're not saying to be a slave to them. Okay, again, there's word play here. We got to take into consideration this from a different time. Don't try to please them or talk back to them, and don't steal from them, but show that they can be fully trusted. All right, so it's just pretty much saying honor those who are in authority. All right, as we are covering authority here, show respect. Reading on, it says, showing respect for the hierarchy at work goes beyond the normal duty of an employee. All right, respect for authority is a rare virtue. in the era of individualism and relativism in which we live. For Christians, though respect for authority is based on a relationship with the dependence on God. All right, so let's break that down. It says showing respect for a hierarchy at work goes beyond the normal duty of an employee. The hierarchy is a word that means a lot to me. We learn about it in school. Hierarchy is the monarchy. We usually use it to, we attach it to the monarchy and like royalty, the kings and queens, and all the way down to serfs and peasants and everything, and all the positions in between. Um, but hierarchy simply just means the structure, right? And the levels of leadership. And I remember, and that's a word that we use in our business, a hierarchy. This person recruited these people, which built that brand, and this branch over here, and this branch over here, and now you have a hierarchy. A lot of which most companies are, right? The majority, 99.9% are. So, but hierarchy, it means a lot to me because I remember when I first took on this oil drilling job, and it was different than a regular job. This job right here, you go there, and you pretty much you got. I don't know how to explain this. This is maybe I just might skip it, but pretty much I was doing a job. The boss said something, and I just kept doing what I was doing. And finally, the supervisor pulled me aside. He said, "Look, I understand you're new here, but I got to tell you something. This is not a democracy. This is a hierarchy, right? So you respect your person, right? If he's in a higher position than you, he says something to you, you listen. If he's in a higher position." And there was, the pusher, the driller, the derrick man, the motor man, the pipe racker, and the fifth man and freehand, right? And I was the pipe racker, right? And so motor man, I didn't like him. I didn't like him, and so he said something to me, and I just kept doing what I was doing. And the supervisor or the driller came down to me and told me, "Look, this is a hierarchy guy. Uh, no disrespect, but if you're, so when the higher position says something, you got to do it." Right. And so it was, not out of like, he wasn't trying to tell me like, "Hey, you're a slave to homeboy right here." What he was saying is, out of respect to him and his position, he earned his way there, and he's trying to help you, by teaching you. So best to listen, out of respect. And it was more respecting than the obedience thing. It wasn't like, "Hey, be obedient." It wasn't like that. It was more show respect to those who hold a higher position than you. That's all it was. So when we talk about the hierarchy here, it says showing respect for a hierarchy goes beyond the normal duties of an employee. You got to go, do what you can to honor those in position, right? But it says, and your respect for authority is based on our relationship with the dependence on God. By its very nature, a professional relationship allows a person to reign and leave a difficult situation. Now, this is advice for those who find themselves in a position that they do not like. There is nothing worse than an arrogant boss who thinks that he can do whatever he wants. Similarly, an employee who disrespects his supervisors will be treated negatively by the market. So, when we are talking about respecting authority, we see three basic notions, right? So here we have a boss who's super arrogant, right? Doesn't care about the employee, and then we have an employee who's disrespectful to his supervisors. So when we talk about uh, respecting authority, we got three basic notions. Number one, the choice to quit a job or company if you wish. Number two, the responsibility on part of the employees to respect authority. And number three, the responsibilities on part of the employers and managers to make proper use of the authority that they enjoy. All of us know an overbearing boss or leader is never satisfied and has unreasonable demands, right? And we all know an employee with a bare minimum attitude towards work, I'm guilty of that, who cannot deal with pressure or demands of any kind. Right? Sorry, guys. Right. So it says, we all know an employee with a bare minimum attitude towards work who cannot deal with the pressure and demands of any kind, and who constantly thinks that he or she is being exploited. Right, I've been there. These are extreme cases, right? So these are both ends of the spectrum here that require patience, tolerance, and resilience. Now, finishing off this chapter, when if when all is said and done, you discover that you cannot work with a specific person, finish your tasks, or fulfill your end of the agreement, and then choose not to work. It says here, if you can't work with a specific person or people, if you can't finish your task and fulfill your end of the, if you can't finish your task, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me clear this up. Let me clear this up. Sorry, guys. If when all is said and done, and you discover that you cannot work with a specific person or people, it says, finish your tasks, fulfill your end of the agreement, and then choose not to work with that person in the future. If the pressure or discomfort reaches an unreasonable level, look for a coach, a mentor, or a more experienced friend to assess the situation and help you deal with it. If needed, use the law. It's there to protect everyone, including you. So, like I said earlier, we must respect authority. We must serve to the best of our ability. But if we find ourselves in a situation where we just can't stand working with a certain individual or with a certain group of people, it says to complete your tasks and then decide that I'm not going to be working with that person in the future. Now, some people will say, "Well, that just means you're a quitter." A lot of people frown upon that. No, this is being a responsible adult. Um, and it says here that yes, the employee must respect the authority. Also, the employers and managers must make proper use of their authority and make their authority natural. And it says there's also the choice to quit a job if you wish. You cannot change people. You cannot change a leader if the leader doesn't want to be changed or if the leader feels that they are right. You cannot change an organization if they've got things set in their ways. You can't change a person that you're training. Maybe you are the person in leadership, and the people that you are a leader to, they just don't change. You can't change them for them. But if you find yourself in a situation where you just can't stand working with somebody, see your way out. There's nothing wrong with that. Go and find a group that you can work well with. Go and find a group that you feel comfortable with. You don't have to stick there. Again, if you have a job that you hate, I can help you out with that. Um, but it says here, find a coach and mentor to help you out. So it says assess the situation. Always look at things on all sides. We learned about that with the law of advice. It says that even the most intelligent minds, when looking at a rock, cannot see all sides of the rock. You need perspective. You need other people's advice. So it says seek a mentor, a coach, or someone with more experience to help you with the situation. And if needed, get yourself a lawyer. Use the law because the laws are there to protect you. If you do not have a lawyer, talk to me. If you do not have a lawyer, I can get you the services for cheap, super cheap, less than $1 a day, guys. Seriously. Um, and it says we're finishing off with this quote with John Maxwell. True leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It comes only, only from influence, and that cannot be mandated. Mandated. It must be earned. You are not going to gain trust to be a leader of anybody based on your position. It cannot be mandated. It doesn't matter if they write it in a stone tablet or in a nice contract. It doesn't matter. It comes only from influence. It cannot be awarded. It cannot be appointed. It cannot be assigned to you. Leadership must be awarded from influence, guys. And that right there, is a huge way to finish off the law of relationships. Um, it is my belief that leadership today is not as strong as it should be. There's a lot of people that are in leadership that should not be in leadership. There's a lot of people that have a title, but are not a leader. and they fail to realize this. And I pray that leaders do wake up and become better. I don't wish them ill. I don't want them to just lose their position or lose their title because of this. All I'm saying is that we've got to master leadership, guys. And here's why. Jordan Peterson was asked, because he's a very controversial figure, public figure who speaks his mind, and he gets a lot of opposition. He gets a lot of people that hate him for his thoughts. But he cried at an interview, and it was a deep interview. Awesome questions that, that you think about, but they asked him about his faith and about the things that he does. And he says that, a lot of people hate him because of what he does, but it only takes one person. He said if there's just one person that was impacted by his work, it was well worth it. Right. And, he is truly a leadership because he has influence. And what I see is I see people with a title that have a responsibility to people, to impact people, to change their lives. And because their leadership skills are not where they should be, there are people that are suffering. I wonder how many people have passed away with issues and problems and circumstances that they needed help and advice on. But because they had no one who really upheld true leadership in their church, in their ministry, in their school, in their company, how many of these people pass away with a need that is unfulfilled, that only a true leader would be able to acknowledge, recognize, and really attack. There's people that fall through the cracks, as we talk about it in my business, meaning they get into the company, but because their leader is just shallow or incompetent, the leader is self-absorbed and fails as a leader to address certain situations. They don't have the competency. They don't have the communication. They lack in character. And because they lack in those areas, people fall through the cracks. They're no longer with us. They're not in the company anymore. They could have been great here. But because of lack of leadership, who knows? They're slaving away at a job right now when they could be doing some better things. People depend on leaders to be better, to get better, to uphold true leadership, because change is needed. And for change to happen, there have to be leaders at work. I think it was, it was Art Williams, the founder of my company. Show me anything, any group, any company that is at work, that is doing great, that is thriving. Show me any company that is thriving. I'll show you a leader at work. That's massive. The power of leadership is it's unmeasurable. It's unmeasurable. A leader can change the tide of a war. A leader can change a community. A leader can change culture, which is why I'm doing what I do now on social media, because I see a culture that is lacking in leadership. And if that's just my opinion, that's just my opinion. And, I want to influence others to step up. And I'm going to do my part as well. And we're going to make some major changes. We're going to make an impact. We're going to influence people. We're going to impact lives. We're going to save souls. We're going to bring people to Jesus Christ. We're going to bring people to salvation. We're going to help people, get off their habits of drugs and alcohol abuse and sexual abuse. We're going to break, bondage. We're going to break these perimeters that people have, that they set up themselves in their minds because of things that were done to them. We're going to help people heal. We're going to do some great things here, guys. I truly believe it. The big money movement is going to impact lives. It's going to feed kids. It's going to shelter homeless people. It's going to get girls off the streets, doing things that they have no business doing. We're going to get people back in church. We're going to get people back into the real church, not confined within the walls of a building, but out on the street, ministering and saving people, guys. That's what we're going to do here. And we're going to utilize leadership to make sure that this works out great. And if there's anybody that wants to learn how to be a better leader, if there's anybody that wants to learn how to lead a great group, let's talk. Let's talk. Send me a message. Get in contact with me. I'm a very easy person to talk to. Give me a call, 562-753-7832. I'm willing to get to learn with others. I'm willing to explore leadership with other people that have a title. If you have a title, I'm not knocking you. If you have a position, I'm not making fun of you. All I'm saying is that you have a responsibility to people to become the best leader possible. And I want to help you with that, with things that I've learned. And as I'm rebuilding my organization, I pray that I can help you too, with the things that I've learned. But you guys continue being great, and praise God when it's easy. Praise God when things are difficult. Either way, Jesus, He has your back. God loves you. You're phenomenal. You're a great person. You are meant to be a great leader. And I want to explore that with you. Thanks for being with me, guys, as we cover chapter 20. We just got a few more chapters to go, and we're going to get past this first book. And I'm excited about it. Pray for me as I go through my studies. Pray for me that we're building this business to lead others and develop other leaders. I want to grow with you guys. All right, so let's do this thing, guys. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything, post it on here. Hit us up in the comment section, message us. God bless you all. Look out for the next chapter. Tomorrow we started a new part of the book. It is part 5, the laws concerning personal growth, which I just saw that for the first time. I'm excited about that because this is why we're here, guys. We're here for self-improvement. God bless you, and have a great night.